Hello, my name is Dylan, and if you didn't know, I'm a huge movie fan, and I figured why not start bringing movie reviews to the channel. I watched a handful of movies in 2019, and as the pandemic hit, I didn't really find myself watching any movies, but as, the end, it starts easing up a little bit. I have seen a couple of movies recently, and the first movie that I want to start with is Free Guy. So yeah, here we go. So I'm going to separate this into two different parts, a completely spoiler-free portion, and then towards the end of the video, there will be a full spoiler portion, and there will be a pop tag down below when it is a spoiler section, so you will know when to click off if you have not seen the movie. So I will keep the spoiler-free section completely spoiler-free, so if you have not seen the movie and you just want to get a feel for the movie before you go see it or whatever, you will be good, and then I will talk more spoilery stuff in that ending portion. Overall, when I left that film, I was just happy, and I felt overall satisfied with what I had watched. I didn't go into it expecting it to be like an award-winning film by any means, but I just expected to go in and have a good time. And that's exactly what we got. It's everything that I wish Ready Player One could have been, but even more. And I do feel like I was in the minority where I enjoyed Ready Player One, but it didn't leave me feeling satisfied when I left the theater. And I think that's what made me so much happier about this film over Ready Player One, despite them kind of being in a similar concept, but not really. And overall, the blend of IRL transition to game transition was nearly flawless, and I overall have very little complaints for the film. And the complaints that I have for the film are so minimal that I can't really say they're complaints in a sense, because everything else in the film made up for it. And something for me that stood out is the line in the trailer where she says, "Is that a Glock in your pants?" Even though I had already seen it literally 100 times in the trailer prior to the movie's release, every single time when it hit in the movie, it was still just as funny as when I saw it the first time, which was something that I wasn't really expecting, but everyone in the theater still let out a chuckle. And I'll talk more about this in the spoiler section, but I will say, there's one movie franchise that you are a fan of, which if you want to hear more about it, stay for the spoiler section, but I'm not going to disclose the movie franchise. But if you are a fan of that movie franchise, there is a little nod to it, and oh man, it makes you so happy inside, and it comes at the perfect moment. So we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I would overall say it's just a good time. It's a good movie to watch by yourself. It's a good movie to watch with friends. It's a good movie to watch with a loved one. It's just overall a good time no matter who you see it with. And I would definitely recommend this. Don't go in with high expectations that it's going to be an award-winning film, because that's not what it was trying to do. It was just trying to be an overall good time, and it 100% satisfied that for me and for a lot of people. And I think another cool aspect of it was the integration of content creators into that film. So content creators that I've grown up watching over the years or have watched over the years, it was super cool to see them integrated into the film, and I would love to see that more in the future when it comes to the integration between content creators and the Hollywood scene, because I do think a lot of these content creators do have potential in that Hollywood space. So overall, if I did rate the movie on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 8.5 for overall everything about it. The music choices, everything just felt right in the moment, and the complaints that I had were very minimal. And the only reason it's not getting a higher score is because there's only so much you can do with a film like this, and as long as it makes you feel good and makes everyone feel happy when they're there, that's all you can really ask for. So an 8.5 for this film is very good, considering I didn't really know what the expectations of this film should have been. And if I gave it a rating based off of just how I felt when I left, I would straight up give it a 10 out of 10, because I don't think I've felt like that happy. Like, I was in the theater and I had my mask on, and towards the end of the film, which we could talk about more in the spoiler section or whatever, my mask just lifted up and was lifted up the whole time because I just had a huge smile on my face, and I think that speaks a lot for the film itself. So I would just give it a straight out 10 out of 10 if we were just basing it on how I felt after the film. But as I am a huge film fanatic as well, I do like look at films very critically and like look at the cinematography and stuff like that. Visual effects absolutely phenomenal, and overall just an incredible time. So yeah, now we're gonna transition to spoilers. So the spoiler tag should pop up right here, and yeah, we can talk a little bit about spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil the whole movie, but I'm just gonna talk about a couple of things that stood out to me as far as the film goes. Pretty much obviously you can get the feel from the trailer, but the fact that like it genuinely just felt like you were like literally living / watching a GTA world and unfold was one of the coolest feelings. And I wouldn't really consider that a spoiler, but I guess I could have talked about it then. But yeah, so the transition of like being in the GTA world and then transitioning out to like the real world, and that connection between what was being done in the video game world to what was being done outside the video game world was absolutely incredible. And in the trailer we get this idea and we get this like knowledge that there's gonna be a love story in this film, and the execution on this love story was absolutely phenomenal. And don't get me wrong, at times it was very predictable on what was going to end up happening in this love story, and you know, you kind of predict that they're going to end up together, but it was still overall a very satisfying feeling regardless of being predictable, because you wanted it to pay off, and that payoff was so satisfying that like when they get together at the end, it was actually just such a satisfying feeling. And then the other part that I want to talk about in the spoiler section that I mentioned earlier was, if you were a fan of Marvel, hence like, you know, hence my Infinity Gauntlet in the background, or all my pop figures right here of like the Marvel of Infinity series or whatever, just if you're a fan of Marvel, towards the very end of the movie there's a straight nod to like basically Marvel and just Disney in a whole. And you see a scene that brings up like the Hulk smash, the Iron Man gauntlet, and then you also transition, like if you're a fan of like Star Wars and stuff like that, you get a scene with a lightsaber and all of this stuff. And there's a freaking Chris Evans cameo that just makes that moment even more satisfying. And that's like the part that like I was just cheesing at the whole time, because I am a fan of that franchise. And one final thing that I'll mention is, if I didn't notice it when you went in the moment, but me and my friend had stayed through the credits, and through the credit we didn't realize in the moment, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Hugh Jackman, and so many more people got voice cameos that you don't even notice in the moment. And that's actually so insane, because that's all done like behind the scenes. And if I genuinely don't think I would have noticed if I didn't stay for the credits, because in the moment, in the scene, there's like a bank robbery scene, I didn't notice that was his voice. I didn't notice that it was their voices. And so the fact that I saw their names in the credit, and I was like, damn, that's insane. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the overall review of Free Guy. Definitely would recommend, again, if you have a couple hours on your hand and you want something to do. It's an overall good time. I just, as long as you don't go in with super high expectations, like that you want like a super killer story or something like that, you're gonna have a great time with this film. And I would definitely, again, I would just recommend it. Just go out, have a good time in such a time of where we've had such a dark time with this pandemic. It's just kind of like, it's just nice to have a feeling like that when movies have been so scarce throughout this time. Or instead of getting a theater release, they just get released on a digital platform and you can just watch it from the comfort of your home. And of course, don't get me wrong, that's great, but there's something about being in a theater environment and all of the audio and stuff, that audio advantages and stuff that you get being in that theater, that just makes it so much more enjoyable. Yeah, so let me know what movies you'd like to see me review down below. I did recently see Black Widow, so if you want to see a review on Black Widow, I'd be more than happy to do that. If there's any future movies you want me to see to be able to do a review on them, I can do that as well. And I still need to see Suicide Squad. I've heard some mixed feelings about that, so perhaps a review coming on that soon if I do get around to watching it. And yeah, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. If you made it to the end, much love, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Peace.